Hi guys, it's Irene and welcome to I Love on Location episode 10. Today on the show, I am joined by my friend and talented writer from Los Angeles, Lennie Ross. Lennie is not only the author of Blow Me, a provocative novel in the style of Sex and the City, providing a humorous, edgy look at aging, dating, and being single in the city. She is also a screenwriter for film and television, an in-demand story researcher, editor, and consultant for other screenwriters, as well as a freelance makeup artist, certified sommelier, and caring mom to her kitty rescues. She'll be my awesome guest today, and we are going to talk about everything from her early career in TV and film production to how she overcame a physical and emotional mental health obstacle that stemmed from a bad breakup, as well as her passion for writing, wine, makeup styling, and animal rescue, to meeting the love of her life and living next door to my Jesus Christ OPRAH. So stick around for my conversation with Lennie. Welcome to the ILO on Location podcast. I'm your host, Irene Loper. That's ILO for short. And my podcast is all about having fun, connecting with your friends, and breaking shit down. Guys, I'm practically halfway to 100, and when I look around at my circle of friends, I see the most incredible women. They make me laugh out loud, they support me through everything, and they inspire me with their amazingness. So, join me on my couch, grab a bottle of rosé, and let me bring you the gift of the gab to brighten your day. Let me get my drink. Okay, girl, we are set up. Cheers.
Get your jug of wine.
What are you drinking, a mojito? Lennie Ross, live from Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, live from Los Angeles. So welcome to ILO on Location. I'm talking to my very old friend, Lennie Ross from LA. And just to give my listeners a quick intro as to who you are and why you're special and important to me is because many years ago, I met Miss Lennie Ross and we became fast friends, and she handed me on a silver platter a beautiful career in film production. And I'm forever grateful and owe her all my financial stability. Because as we met as young actresses in Los Angeles, I soon realized there's other ways to make money in our wonderful industry. And Lennie taught me and trained me and groomed me to be her production coordinator in television commercials and handed me a career that has been my subsidiary income and partnering career my entire life. So to that, I say thank you.
Thank you. You were the most amazing assistant with a great telephone voice. So it's fantastic now that you're doing podcasts.
Exactly. I've managed.
Please remember that. Please hold. This is Irene. Please hold.
So, yeah, what's so fabulous is it's perfect for this Corona time to reconnect and have a face-to-face conversation with friends, colleagues, amazing women. And of course, I have my list of amazing people, and Lennie Ross, published author / so many things and so much fabulous that you're going to remind me and tell me a little bit about what you've been up to all these years.
Okay. Well, after my career producing commercials, which was always just a waitering gig, a way to pay the bills, I'd always been a writer, and I'd written a lot of screenplays and magazine articles, copywriting, all those kinds of things. And so I decided to write a novel. I had actually written one in university because I was bored, so I figured business school wasn't challenging enough, and I wrote one back then, but I never published that one. That one was called Racing for the Last Martini, something you could relate to.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. But the one that I wrote a few years ago is called Blow Me.
Thank you.
And
let's say that again. Blow Me.
Blow Me
by Lennie Ross.
Yeah, Blow Me by Lennie Ross. And I think you were inspiration definitely for that title. I think you used to say that when we worked together. But it's basically a LA version of Sex and the City. It's about three girls in their late 30s, early 40s. And the theme of the book is fail to plan to fail. And I took a little hiatus from writing after that. And I actually just recently got back to writing, and I'm working on some, I know. This is what happened. You're stuck at home.
Right? I mean, right? The creative juices just come pouring out sometimes. And this is a kind of a great reason to be stuck at home and do something creative if you have the opportunity.
Yeah. So I just, I hadn't had time to get back into writing. I have missed it the whole time I was away. I had a bad stress condition for a few years, and I actually lost use of my arms for a period of time.
Oh, God. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was really bad. Right after I wrote the novel and was marketing it and whatnot, I was also dealing with a very intense breakup.
Copy.
And you remember that situation.
Yes, I do.
And so between the stress of, working 17-hour days, various jobs to get this book launched, and dealing with press releases and dealing with a breakup, I developed a stress condition that basically paralyzed me from like the neck through into the shoulders, and tingling sensation down into the arms. And it took me a good 2 years to get that under control, but not gone away. Yeah. So when I'm doing something that's not good for my chi, my emotions to do with the writing and that relationship, that person was also a writer. There was too much emotion there, and it was too painful, and my body basically would manifest that pain.
Oh my God.
So it took me a long time to process it through meditation, talk therapy, all sorts of things, to be able to actually even talk about the relationship and talk about him without feeling physical pain in my body.
Let me ask you this. Is this anything to do with mental health? And is this something we should talk about in regards to mental health, or is this more of a physical health?
No, it is a mental health condition that manifests itself physically.
Okay. Copy that.
There's a very interesting doctor who wrote a book called Healing Back Pain.
Okay.
And his name is John Sarno. And his premise is the physical manifestation of emotional pain.
Wow.
And I did a lot of work with a hypnotherapist and directed meditation for visualization and whatnot, to visualize health and healing and whatnot. And there's this French group that did studies with small children about other ways to block that interceptor that causes the emotional pain to come out physically. Amazing. But basically, I was ignoring my emotional pain, so my body started screaming at me with physical pain.
Which is incredible, because you hear about these types of healing that are just different avenues, energy, emotional, that can lead into physical, and all these fascinating ways to deal with physical issues and emotional issues. And here you are telling me your experience with some sort of healing and books, and it's fascinating.
It was really amazing. Another read I recommend in regard to that is a fellow named Joe Dispenza. He's an amazingly educated doctor who believes in this type of healing, and his book is called Changing the Habit of Being Yourself. It talks a lot about how, the power of the mind is incredible, and we use so little of it, and basically how we can visualize healing and change. And that's what I did a lot of work for my physical pain to do with this. I was basically going through a lot of PTSD, and it was just so deep rooted.
People have, they don't necessarily know how to articulate some of their issues or understand how to connect some of the issues into fixing some of their issues or working through some of their problems. And just this whole mental health awareness and talking about it more, you can learn so much by just having a conversation with someone and their experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, I think for me too, because when I met that former significant other, I met him 3 days after I was almost killed in a home invasion, and I was in shock from the home invasion. He was a knight in shining armor, even though he wasn't really, but compared to what I had gone through, he was a godsend. And I clung to him emotionally, and that I think that there was a bond there and an association of the PTSD from the home invasion,
of course,
which was then compounded and enhanced with the PTSD of the relationship. He was all I had, so I took it. But I think that whole thing didn't help my ability, so I think I had a sort of a double whammy of PTSD to deal with.
But you've now since worked through it with this coming through the other side, identifying the emotional pain through the physical pain and working through it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you've always been a strong woman, my girl, and if anyone can get through anything, it's you. And so did you just find that experience got your creative juices flowing again, like just to start writing?
Well, my creative juices were always flowing, but I had so much pain associated with writing because of just, it's a hard industry, and the pain of just being really good at what you do and not getting the reward of it. As you know, from being an artist, sometimes it's really hard. And that's why I think in your case, you do a lot of theater, because if you're, at least you can be in control of doing that. Whereas going out for, TV auditions, you can audition for 100 things and not get one. And so that's very hard on your psyche.
Of course. And
it's the same with writing. You write a whole script or you write a whole novel, and then you try and get somebody interested. I think, having spent years and years chasing writing, having minor successes, but never really being able to make a living solely at writing.
But you took charge of that step with Blow Me and made that happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
And now, is your new book or your new idea anything to do with a continuation of Blow Me, or is a whole different?
No, I had a lot of people interested in doing that, and it would have been fun to see where the characters end up 10 years later or something. Right. And I may get to that at some point, but I had started writing a second novel when I finished Blow Me, and it was called Facelift. It was about a dermatologist and her cosmetic surgeon husband.
Fabulous.
And I know. And I know. And, but it was fabulous. And I got a lot of that done. And that's when I just got to the point with my stress that I couldn't deal with it. Yeah. And so I took a grain of that, as one often does. And I'm right now, there's a lot of there's a lot of material or need for material out there, which is along the lines of what I used to do, which is romantic comedy and TV movie stuff. And so with Netflix and Hallmark, they're kind of looking for a formula that I used to do 20 years ago.
Honey, I remember your formula. Absolutely. Yeah. You had a dozen scripts in your place. Dozens.
Yeah. So I took a grain of Facelift. I took the dermatologist and set her on a little adventure. So I just finished a draft of that. And then Wonderful. I've got another ready to go, and I'm going to probably look at some of my old scripts and see if I can polish them off and hit up the Hallmark and Netflix. I've been watching a lot of those. This is what I used to do, and I do it better.
I don't know, going through production, going through auditions, going through acting, you always had side hustles. And I talked about this on another episode with another girlfriend of mine, side hustles that were still of interest to you and just kept you focused, determined. I never hear you, and still to this day, sit around and complain about opportunities not being there. You're just always on it and ahead of the game. And this is a prime example. You're taking a negative into a positive. Old scripts that, didn't necessarily happen at the time that you can revisit and be like, hey, let's revamp them and get them on today's plate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely not a quitter. I would say sometimes I feel like I am, but I know I'm not. Yeah. I sometimes just run out of steam for a little bit.
Of course. Who doesn't? We all do. Sit on the couch, bag of Cheetos.
Yeah, exactly.
I know you don't eat Cheetos like I do.
No, I eat a bag of tortilla chips after dinner, but
but in the meantime, you're going to look fabulous and just kill it in the meantime.
Exactly.
Guys, are you single and looking for love? Do you have that one fabulous friend who just can't find the right partner? Are you a senior who thinks it's too late to get back in the dating game but would really love to meet someone? Then I want to hear from you. ILO on Location presents Sundays on the Couch with Irene. Episodes dedicated to connecting singles with other singles. The best part is, I get to be your first date. Doesn't that sound like fun? Interested? Then head over to my website's contact page at www.irenecares.com/contact and send me an email telling me about you. I already know you're fabulous since you're listening. Could there be a podcast love connection out there? Absolutely. You never know who might be listening to you. Anyone and everyone is welcome, no matter who and what you're into. And if you want to keep your name a secret for our listeners, that's okay too. ILO on Location, connecting singles with other singles from the couch. When you say you're, going to revamp in the Netflix and the content, because what you're saying is Corona adding to that incentive to pick up those scripts, or is it just in general in the industry in general?
Well, yeah, what happened for me is when I recovered from the stress condition, kind of lost my foothold in the writing world. And I was also just emotionally, I wasn't ready to go back to it. I was really concerned that it would just bring up the stress condition. And so I didn't think that going back to writing at that time would be helpful. So I was doing other things. I was doing some wardrobe styling. And then I got back into something I did in my 20s, which was doing makeup. And that was just a part-time thing. And I just sort of been waiting to figure out what my new life with my new partner was, where would we be living and what he'd be doing. And what happened with COVID was, because the other things I was running was 2 Airbnbs. I was running 2 Airbnbs, caring for 7 animals, cooking all of the meals, and doing occasional makeup gigs. So I didn't really have any time to write. But now that the Airbnbs are off my plate, I have time in my day. Not a lot, but I have some time. And so that's what got me thinking, okay, I want to get back to writing because I really realized I need to be able to make a living again. And I've been at it for so long and I love it. I've always loved it. And so it just made sense to circle back to it. So I'm very excited about it.
But don't you think also when you have the creative juice or blood in your system, that it's one of those things, like my mother, she's fucking 78, still killing it, volunteering at the theater company. I mean, she's semi-retired now, but it's like when it's in you, and it doesn't matter if you put the pen down for 1 year, 5 years, or 1 hour. Once you pick it up, it feels good, it feels familiar, and it gets you kind of flowing again into the fantasy land.
For sure. And I think that one thing is like, if you are a creative person, you're a creative person at whatever you do.
Yeah. But again, just, not sitting around complaining, just being proactive. I mean, because the thing about you is you've had the creative energy all your life, but you've also been a businesswoman. And in fact, you taught me the gift of investing in myself. Number one, pay yourself first. Make sure you put money aside. Invest in that computer because you'll see the rewards when you make the investment. Whenever you invest in yourself, and you have always sort of had that businesswoman aspect. So when you say makeup artist, Airbnb, it's like, let's talk a little bit about that because it's creative. However, it's business for you. You're not doing this just to paint eyeshadow and eyebrows. You're making,
oh, for sure.
It comes down to money because, as you say, as a writer, you might not always generate that income. Now, I believe you have a few properties that you own with your little Airbnb, Missy. So let's talk a little bit about that. Making smart decisions as an independent woman.
Well, that's one thing. I have to say, my parents all wanted us to be like doctors or lawyers or business school. And other than that, we would have been kicked out on the street, and I was applying to get into FIT for fashion and Yale for drama. And I remember having a fight with my father in the kitchen about it and going, well, why can't I do that? And he was like, because you can't make a living at it necessarily.
Right.
So I had to shelf all that creativity and get a business degree. But in the long run, it helped me. And one thing that really helped me that I can't stress enough for women and men too, but because I've actually taught Phil, my significant other, this, is to log your expenses. And I read a book years ago, I think David Bach, I did remember his name.
Copy.
And he wrote a book called Smart Women Finish Rich.
Ah, nice title.
And he also wrote The Automatic Millionaire and Smart Couples Finish Rich, and he got carried away with those titles. But I read Smart Women Finish Rich about 25 years ago, and I've given it to many people as a gift. One of the things that he suggested is that you write down every single expense, every single dime you spend. And I used to do it in a little book, and now I remember
that book. In your purse, in your Chanel bag, in your Chanel or Louis bag.
Well, you have to have some pleasures in life. Of course. You can't put it all in the bag. But so I have a little app now. It's called Spending, and it looks like a little wallet, and you can create little categories. And I write down everything. If I put $1 in a parking meter or I spend $5 on a latte, I write that down, so I know every dime I spend. I know every buck that I make. But that is what helped me. That is why I own a house. That is why I am in a position right now where I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing okay. Absolutely.
Despite not being able to, get a job. It's insane.
It was because you were being prepared and you were being responsible. And I do remember, you had always said, because of course I met you 150 years ago, even though we're holding at 35. Thank you.
Exactly.
And it was just, and OPRAH, my Jesus Christ, always talking about your latte fund.
The latte factor.
The latte factor, and just paying yourself first and putting money aside and not, spending every last penny to spend it. And that's a skill. Again, my parents are similar to yours. Dad's a mathematician and, they're educators. So if I wanted something growing up, I had to pay for it. I didn't get anything handed to me. Of course, I'm 100% supportive and God bless them. Thank God. But it's something, again, that's just, sometimes you don't think about when you're young and then you learn it later. And sometimes it's too late to learn it. And it's just kind of nice if you kind of did know it at an earlier age, and that you can be an independent woman in your mature years, as we are rocking our mature years. And that's a great thing.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that David Bach says in his book is never to rely on somebody else you for your income or for your financial security. Because you know what? A lot of times men make mistakes with their finances and they have a big pride thing around money. So they're not necessarily going to go, oops, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't have any money. And you're going to find out later, you're going to find out when they die and you find out that they didn't have a life insurance policy for you or that there is no money and nothing but debt. So being married to somebody doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be financially secure. No. You have to take charge of that and be aware of money. Yeah. As a kid, I started working probably for my life.
You were probably
6 or 7. As soon as I figured out that money buys candy, I was like, hey.
Lemonade on the corner with Lennie Ross.
Exactly.
Yeah, buying her
lemonade stand. Would you like a little vodka in that lemonade, man? So I learned that the value of a buck at a very young age. I learned work ethic. We learned that money's important, and we learned to work hard for it and work smart and save. And would you say that your Airbnb though also has a bit of a creative element to it? Because I see your beautiful Instagram and your photos, and I do notice, in the day of digital world and social media, which is a lot of how you, I'm sure, book work, get clients in your Airbnb, models to do their makeup artistry on shoots and stuff. Your social media portfolio is outstanding. Like I look at your Airbnb and it's like, who wouldn't want to stay there? Is that part of? Thank you.
You're welcome. And your makeup artistry and how creative you are. But would you say that having that eye is also added to the creative element of those businesses?
For sure,
Mhm.
and the marketing background, because I in business school I majored in marketing, which is
Mhm.
the only thing creative in
Right.
business school.
Right.
It's the only option for a creative soul, and so I always think of things from a marketing perspective,
Mm.
and marketing is creativity. So
I see.
so yeah, it is all intertwined.
Right.
I do believe that's the case.
So even with your
Um,
script writing and your novels, you have a marketing kind of bell ringing in the back of your head. How,
oh yeah.
yeah. Oh, smart.
Saleability, you
Right.
have to be, like I'm looking at Hallmark as the main company that I like to Target. They're owned by
Mhm.
Crown Media, which is a Christian corporation.
Right.
They
Yeah.
promote happiness on those shows,
Yeah.
but they focus on,
Mhm.
the light at the end of the tunnel, the silver lining, the pot of gold at the end of the
Yeah.
rainbow, and which I think is great
Yeah, me
because
too.
that we all want the Prince Charming. You found
Absolutely.
yours, yay!
Yes.
It's like
Thank God.
we still want our happily ever
Oh,
after.
yeah.
So
I will say
so yeah.
that while I thank you for gracing my life with financial stability and it's making smart choices, my parents thank you.
Oh, well,
And then of course for all my other fabulous women that I work for and men in the television commercial production team in Vancouver, I thank you all. But thanks to me the start, it was a wonderful gift. And mom and dad especially, he never really worried if I didn't meet my Prince Charming, but let me tell you, he was thrilled when I did. But yeah. Well, I love that when you say the hallmark happiness and all that, because who doesn't want to try and look through a pink lens and have a good day at most of the time? I mean, of course we all
yeah.
have ups and downs, but at the end of the day, if we can have things to make us feel better, that's a great thing.
Yeah, and especially I think when we make it through this experience with
Hmm.
COVID, we're really going to need some positive reinforcement.
Hmm.
It's a very challenging time for everybody. I think that one of the biggest concerns, and it's good that you're touching on mental health in
Hmm.
these podcasts,
Hmm.
is depression and loneliness, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of people out there who are alone
Hmm.
and can't really be with people or can't really be with family right now,
Yeah,
and it's really hard to navigate that
it
emotionally,
is.
and
Yeah.
thank goodness we have things like FaceTime available to
Yeah.
us,
And
so that
Netflix, television,
yeah, and
books, and
yeah,
yeah.
but to be able to connect with human beings. So
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
after this, people are going to gravitate towards, rather than run to the movie theater and
Hmm.
see slasher films, horror films,
Hmm.
negative things. I think they're going to need some positive stuff.
Yep.
So
And absolutely content that's
yeah,
uplifting.
uplifting, inspiring hope.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Let me ask you this, because one of the other things that we share, so many, is our lovely palate and taste for wine. Now,
Oh,
we all
fabulous.
know that I'm the cheap ass Greek and I'm the $10 to $15 bottle of wine. But, one thing I also love about your Instagram posts and such is you're always sharing a new great bottle. You're such a wine master. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you self-taught, you're sommelier, and I have so many friends, my diva friends, they're wine queens. And how did you get into that? What got inspired? And just talk a little
Well,
bit about your wine love.
that's a really interesting thing, because when I was a kid, my dad used to make wine in the garage,
Oh my God.
which started with stuff from vats of concentrate, which was really disgusting. And then eventually he would buy grapes from California that would get shipped up, and
Hmm.
which kind of scary random grapes, and he'd make wine in the garage with buddies, and it was always god awful, but but he had all these books about wine around,
Hmm.
and so I used to amuse myself with reading about wine. And I developed an interest in it, I guess a romantic interest in it, fairly young.
Hmm.
And I had a friend male friend, we never dated, but we would go for crazy expensive dinners in LA. we would we would just go to whatever the fancy restaurant we could find, and we would go and we would try wine and we would try great food. And then, of course, when I got into production back in the day that I started in production, they had nice big budgets.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
They had that dining line in the budget.
Yeah. That was a good line.
They wanted to use the shut up.
Yeah.
That was a good line number.
That was.
They wanted to use that dining butt up so they'd get it again on the next job. So I was invited to a lot of dinners and got a lot of nice bottles of wine that way. So that was all. Yeah, that was all exposure to that world. And then the writer that I dated for years owned a vineyard, and so I spent a lot of time up on the vineyard, and I was marketing. I worked in marketing for him, marketing the wines and pouring wines at wine tastings and trade shows and all of that. And so that's when I really developed it. And he always remarked on what a good palate I had for somebody with no training, that I could detect what grape I was drinking and whatnot. And so it wasn't until after that relationship ended that I wanted to get my certification. Yeah. And one of the reasons I wanted to get my certification was because it used to just drive me crazy, go out for dinner, and of course they always hand the wine menu to the man.
To the guy, right.
And when they ask me, they'd be like, do you want something fruity or dry? And I'm like, well, I'd like somebody to not be condescending when I ask them about wine. So I ended up getting my sommelier certification about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer. Yeah. And it's been fun. It was fascinating. It was really hard. I did something called North American Somm Association, which is affiliated with World Somm. So it was very extensive training. I failed the first time. Right. And I passed the second time. And it was wonderful. And it's nice because it does give me a little respect and a little cachet.
Yeah,
and a good discount when I'm in wine.
I just think it's so sexy. It's kind of cool to have that knowledge, and then it just makes dining and buying and fun. Entertaining all that more fun, right? It's
fun. And you know what? You don't. Inexpensive wine is not necessarily shitty wine. Yeah. There is a lot of shitty wine out there, but you can find something good at every price point. Yeah. So that's fun too.
You were the first person I knew who had a wine fridge. This was like, I'm talking like 25 years ago. This was like, but when I was, I didn't even have a car, but you had a freaking wine fridge. Such a queen. And now, have any of your scripts or Hallmark or movies been about a romance on the vineyard?
I haven't quite figured that one out.
List.
I have to do my homework because there have been a few done on vineyards. And so I have to get my take on it. Yeah. But I'm sure that will come up because to a degree, we always write what we know. But then we add the fantasy part to it because real life is boring. You can't just write. I think that's the mistake that people make when they want to write a novel and they're not a writer. They write about their life, and it's like the real life is boring.
Right. Fantasy life is so much more fun. Now, for some of our friends that are listening and hopefully some new people that are listening, you are living in Los Angeles, Hollywood, the heart of it all when it comes to the entertainment industry. Celebrities at the gas station, go for dinner, or, grocery shopping. What's it like, the tone out in Hollywood right now? Is it just quiet on the streets? Are you seeing celebrities? Let's gossip a little bit.
Okay. Well, for starters, I'm not in LA that much these days. I am, because I'm basically living next to Oprah.
Oh my God! Oh God! Wait! I need a minute.
We're just down the street.
Oh my God! Oh my God, I did not get that memo before we started.
And Ellen, of course,
Oprah, my Jesus Christ, my Jesus Christ. I'm blushing, I've got goosebumps, and I'm sweating a little bit because you just dropped a fucking Oprah bomb on my podcast. Of course, you're living.
Oprah bomb, yes.
My girl, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, you've moved on up in the world. You're now but fucking Oprah and Ellen, some of your best work. Go.
Yeah, I'm like in her caretaker shack. No. Well, so my place in Hollywood is what I've been Airbnb-ing,
Right. Yep.
and right now in Hollywood, it's dead. I mean, you drive, it's a ghost town. You see the occasional person out walking, but they've closed the parks, they've closed the beaches.
Runyon Canyon and everything, eh?
Yeah, Runyon's closed. Griffith Park is closed. The beaches, they've cordoned off all the parking at the beach. So you're really confined. And the great thing is that there's no traffic and there's parking everywhere.
Right.
So
fair enough.
that's fantastic. If you do have to go somewhere, there's lots of parking. But so the tone here is pretty somber, and
it is the hub. It is the hub. The buzz.
It is the hub, and there's a lot of concern. I know that Steven Soderbergh just started a organization to try and figure out how they get the film industry back up and running and what the requirements will be in regard to safety and COVID-19, because obviously they are going to run out of new content at some point. It costs millions and millions of dollars in delays right now because they can't shoot. So it's something that Hollywood's never experienced anything like this. So the top level guys, and ironically, Soderbergh wrote the movie Contagion, which is doing very well on Netflix right now.
With Gwynny's and Matt, right?
Great, yeah. So he's in charge of trying to figure out how we kickstart the business again, how we get that up and running, and how that will be phased in and whatnot.
Interesting.
So you can look out for information on that in the Hollywood Reporter. But most of my life is up in the country, so to speak.
Yeah, good girl.
From OPRAH.
Thank you.
Don't have quite the the 300 or 500 acres that she has. We have an acre.
Amazing. Hey, I moved to the country too, girl. I mean, hey, you get a little more space and a bang for your buck, right?
It's a better lifestyle. Do you have chickens? You should get some chickens.
No, we don't have the chickens. The dog, my beautiful puppy Charlotte, was a big enough stretch for me. Of course, we all know I'm obsessed with her now. My husband used to have the horse, but I
had a horse too. Yeah, I had a horse too. It's like owning a boat.
Yeah, here's what we're not going to have are chickens, but God bless you that you do. And, let's talk a little bit about your animal love, because another thing I want to share about you is Lennie would not only take care and feed her cat, she also rescued cats. She'd feed and care for the neighbors' cats. She would fly me from Vancouver to LA and pay me money and give me her car to take care of her cats when she couldn't take care of her cats. Now you say you have chickens, you had the cats, you have the horse. Talk a little bit about your love of the animals and what they give back to you. Now, I grew up with a couple cats, Kitty and Pussy. God bless them, Kitty and Pussy. And now I have Charlotte. I have a love for animals as well. But you have a passion for animal care. Let's talk a little bit about that. What inspired that?
Okay. Well, as a child, I always wanted a cat, but I was so deathly allergic, I couldn't say the word cat without ending up in the hospital. And then finally in my 20s, even though I still had asthma and allergies, I rescued 4 kittens. Bob and Goog, the ones your godchildren were part of, and so I rescued these 4 kittens, and I ended up hospitalized.
You almost died.
Asthma, oh God! I learned something over the years. I learned that you build up antibodies just like you would to a virus. You build up antibodies, and you become less allergic.
Okay.
For some people, they become not allergic at all, and some people it's just less allergic. And it just depends a lot on your immunity. So after a few months with those, I ended up having antibodies for their particular coats and whatnot, and dander and whatnot, and was no longer allergic. And the interesting thing is, after they passed and I got a new set of kittens, I was like, oh my God, I'm allergic. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep these cats. And then it twigged and I remembered, and it was like, okay, it just took about 3 months and then the allergies went away. I'd been 15 years with these cats that I wasn't allergic to, and I got a new cat, and then I was like, I'm allergic. I'm like, how is this possible?
Right.
And it was just because every animal
is different.
A little different. The DNA is a little different. Everything's, so it takes a while. So I always say that to people if they go, oh, I'm allergic, I can't have a pet. I said, you know what? give it 3 months.
Give it 3 months. Yeah.
Because it really takes time for your system to adjust and to say, okay, I have to learn how to live with this.
Right.
And I think that part of what we get from animals too is this incredible love and calming effect. It's been known that petting a cat can reduce your blood pressure. Owning a cat can escalate it, though.
Right.
But petting one is
good. Yeah.
So just borrow somebody's cat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lost count, but the 20 plus years that I lived in LA, I probably rescued over 20 cats.
Yeah, at least.
They would just show up mangled on my doorstep or whatever, and I'd take them to the hospital. And I had a mom cat one time with her teenage daughter and 7 kittens in my garage shortly after I moved to LA. So that was my first rescue mission. Yeah, and I just, I value animals so much. They don't get a say in what we're doing with this world. I take it very seriously when I take on an animal. And right now, I most recently, about a year ago, my neighbor passed away. And so I adopted his cat because his cat was lovers and BFFs with my cat for 10 years. I adopted his white cat, Missy, who turns out to be a guy. Missy turns out to be transgender cat, because that's cool in West Hollywood.
Thank you.
So Missy is now Mr. and they is very happy.
Oh, that is so cute.
It turns out, so Pino, who's a boy, and Mr., who's a boy, are lovers and have been for about 10, 11 years now.
Amazing.
And Mr. has cancer, so we've been treating him for that. I was really fortunate to be able to get medical insurance before we got a diagnosis.
Great. So it's not gonna...
So that helps tremendously because they cover close to 90% of
good.
And he's doing great, and they all love living on their kitty retirement community. They live on an acre.
Oh, of course, right?
They went from being city cats to country cats.
Yes, just like us.
Yeah, exactly.
City girls to country girls. So when you have, your independent lifestyle all these years, killing it in Los Angeles, like as we've discussed, all these wonderful aspects to your life. And then you finally meet not finally, but then you come upon this great guy.
Finally.
And then, you have this sort of completion in the full circle. Like, how is it just a new feeling being in this new love and having this new partner that, is life just a little different now in a much better way? Or is it just adding to your already fabulous life?
Yeah. Well, I really worked hard to have to provide myself with a fabulous life.
Yeah.
I didn't always feel fabulous because I was working so hard to provide it for myself. So, when you're working 15-hour days and whatnot and never stopping, you really are not stopping to smell the roses.
Right.
And now, yes, I would say the relationship is wonderful. I found somebody who really gets me, appreciates me, and tolerates me.
Yeah. They put up with our crazy. That's the way I describe it. Marcus is the only one that fell in love with my crazy because we're a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's just finding that partner that thinks and adores your quirks and such.
Yeah.
And doesn't judge you for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? So I always say to him, he's always like, men I think are more insecure than women, and he's always like, "Oh, you're gonna leave me for somebody with, who's taller or more handsome or younger or has more money, whatever." And I'm like, "There's no way I'm ever leaving you." I could spill food all over myself. I could live in my sweats. I don't have to wash my hair.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving you. You're stuck with me.
Yeah, it's forever.
Of course, it's not just that, and that's just joking. But when you find somebody who gets you, and we get along really well. Were saying that the other day, we were just going, there's nobody else I'd want to be stuck in confinement with. It's like we spend most of our time isolated anyway.
Right. Okay. Because your lifestyle from the city to the country just kind of shifts. Dinners out and such as more making dinners at home and different lifestyles.
Yeah, we don't go out for dinner that often anyway. And so now that really hasn't changed much. I like dressing up in nice clothes every once in a while, but there's more to life than that. And going for nice walks on the beach, which sounds like a cliche from a dating app, or I like nice on the beach, but I do, and we like that, and hiking, and we like just very amusing. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah, can't wait to meet him one day.
He's got a great personality, and he's very patient, and he's very kind, and
wonderful.
He found a good person like you, and so that's a blessing. And I have to say to all of the women that are listening to this, and I guess to the men too, because it can be hard for men, but I didn't find him until I was 48, 49. I met him when I was 48. I started dating him right before I turned 50.
Wow. Because I met Marcus when I turned 40. Later in life.
Yeah, later in life. And you know what? I'd given up all hope. I was so depressed. I was so sick of being alone. I was so sick of dating. So I was done. I was done with dating. I was done with everything. I just figured, okay, you know what? My cats have about 8 years left. I'm going to time it. I'm going to spend all my money, and we're all going to get put down by my... And then Phil comes along and ruins the plan.
Right. I don't even think about that sometimes, in the sense of Hollywood lifestyle, the hub of the entertainment industry, being a woman. We could have done a whole hour on your experiences in that. I mean, we won't get into that now, but
stuff,
just just must be a different experience in Hollywood sometimes. Just women. But balance is important, and that's, I think, where you balance your business side, your creative side with it, the animal love, the makeup artistry. Like, you definitely found a way in your life to bring balance, and then when you balance, it's almost like things worked out with you finding the right partner, combination of all that.
I had to go through my pain and my healing, literally. And it was only after I had done that, that this person entered into my life. Otherwise, the relationship wouldn't have worked. I was a mess.
You might not have seen it or been able to receive it, right? If you hadn't sort of cleansed things. Yeah. Well, it's so great to, hear your life in LA. Because, when I lived with you all those years ago, it was just such a interesting, fun experience for me. And then, knowing you over the years and how you've transitioned out of production, and I'm still here killing it on my side gig. And it's just great to hear, life in LA and how it's manifested to this beautiful partnership in the country near OPRAH.
Yeah, living near OPRAH. Yeah, exactly.
Now, if you could just get close to J-Lo, that would be it for me. I would be done. I would be so. If you, J-Lo and OPRAH, if you could just get a little dinner party going there, that would be.
I'll work on that for you. You'll get your invite. We'll have some great wines.
Oh, amazing. So, Lennie Ross, I want to thank you for your time joining me on this conversation, gal to gal, gab time. And I'm going to share all your Instagram handles and social media platforms and book titles and such so people can find you, as well as come and stay in your fabulous Airbnb. And from, West Coast Canada to West Coast California, have a lovely afternoon, and thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you so much, Irene. It was just wonderful chatting with you.
Yay! Okay, bye!
Bye!
And that's my conversation with Lennie. Thank you for listening, and thank you to the fabulous Lennie Ross for joining me today from her home in Los Angeles. To purchase Lennie Ross's novel, Below Me, or if you require her screenwriting services, please visit her Instagram and website accounts at Lennie Ross. That's spelled LENNIEROSS. And for her makeup and styling services, please visit her Instagram and website accounts at The Cyrano Effect. That's spelled TheCyranoEffect. I hope we made you smile, and I hope you heard something positive from our chat today, whether it's being inspired to get involved with animal rescue, or wine tasting to develop and improve your palate, or maybe adding a new book to your reading list with Lennie's novel, Below Me, or one of her recommends from David Bach, John Sarno, and Joe Dispenza. Join me again next time on ILO on Location. Yay! That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much much for listening. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And remember, if you enjoyed some rosé along with me, make sure you don't drink and drive. The only place I go from my couch is to the kitchen or the bathroom. You can find me at www.irenecaris.com/podcast. You can follow me on my Facebook public page and Twitter at Irene Caris, or on my Instagram at Irene Caris Loper. Thanks to my amazing husband for giving me my married name, aka Ilo. The Ilo on Location podcast is hosted, produced, and edited by me. God bless. Special thanks to my gorgeous nephew Connor, aka C-Buddy on iTunes, for the original music. And thank you to my puppy Charlotte for being my most loyal listener and adding her 2 cents barking in the background. Join me again next time as I gab away with another one of my fabulous friends.